Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu indicating that the strike earlier this week on Hamas targets in Qatar may not be a one-off.
That strike drew heavy criticism from leaders in the region as well as from President Trump, who posted on Truth Social following the attack, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. The president continued, "I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. I also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. I assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil."
Trump reportedly took it a step further during a phone call with Netanyahu on Tuesday. According to Axios, Trump said the strike was, quote, unacceptable, and reportedly continued, "I demand that you do not repeat it." But Netanyahu appears defiant, saying this in an address on Wednesday.
What did America do in the wake of September 11th? It promised to hunt down the terrorists who committed this heinous crime wherever they may be. Yesterday, we acted along those lines. We went after the terrorist masterminds who committed the October 7th massacre. And we did so in Qatar, which gives safe haven. I say to Qatar and all nations who harbor terrorists, you either expel them or you bring them to justice. Because if you don't, we will.
Qatar's prime minister said the strike had, quote, killed any hope of returning the remaining 48 Israeli hostages held by Hamas, 20 of whom are believed to be alive in Gaza.
First of all, to the Netanyahu point in those remarks, I mean, I just find him such a contemptible individual for a start. And I mean, he quite rightly, in my view, faces charges of war crimes. But to his specific point about Qatar, with the cooperation of the United States and the sort of acquiescence of Israel, hosted people from Hamas because it was regarded as actually useful to have this kind of third territory where you could have talks, where you could find out what Hamas would or would not agree to. And this way precedes the terrible attacks of October 7th, for example. So, I mean, Netanyahu knows what the reality is here. And to my mind, he's just misrepresenting the reality in those remarks. And he is doing so in a way that has the effect of prolonging the conflict. And he, as we have spoken about before, has personal interests in prolonging the conflict, not least because he faces charges in Israel on corruption charges, that it's a very, very long-running trial which he has tried to delay as much as possible. So I just have no time for that man.
I wonder if Trump's comments about the strike, calling it unacceptable, were sincere or damage control.
Right.
Because it seems pretty clear to me that the United States, to some effect, signed off on this or gave the green light or at least allowed it to happen. We know that Qatar, for example, did not deploy their air defense systems, and that Trump had apparently given them a heads up that this strike was coming, so he knew before the attack was launched. But now he does not want to have the perception that he was willing to give up this negotiating space and potentially destroy the possibility of returning the hostages. We've heard a lot that Trump is frustrated with Netanyahu, that he is sort of rethinking the U.S.'s relationship with Israel and what that should look like. But then when the Daily Caller interviewed him a few weeks ago and asked him about the changing feelings towards Israel, particularly among young people on the right, he sort of demurred and talked about the importance of them as an ally. So I'm just not convinced that, at least not publicly, that he's really tried to break from Netanyahu.
Yeah.
And at least not on policy matters and the way that the war is being carried out. So some of this reporting, I wonder if it's meant to, again, do some damage control.
Yeah, I think those are all fair points. And I think, just to stress a kind of bipartisan condemnation or criticism that I have, when President Biden was in office, we would hear repeatedly oh, we're really very cross with Israel, and nothing would actually ever happen about it. Now, one thing I will say in Trump's defense is that at the very outset of his second term, he did in fact put pressure on for a ceasefire to be agreed and for the Israelis to sign up to that. They then subsequently broke that ceasefire with very little consequence. But I think you are right in pointing out there are these rhetorical moments when he appears to be upset with Netanyahu, and then the question is, does that lead to any concrete action? Because it's not just when Trump himself rows back on that. He has, for example, in Mike Huckabee, an ambassador to Israel who is extraordinarily pro-Israel and seems to see it very much in religious terms. Huckabee, of course, being a former Baptist preacher at one stage. So I think there's so many questions here, but one is also that Qatar is in fact a US ally, the host to the biggest US military base in the region. And so to have this kind of attack take place, I agree with you, it seems inconceivable that the United States didn't know about it in advance. I know the Qataris have said they were only told about it by the US when it was already underway or something.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I think that's a bit of face saving on their part. It's kind of very murky, but the point is, it seems to me that Netanyahu is once again both behaving in a selfish way while engaging in military action, a personally selfish way while engaging in military action, and doing things that are very unhelpful to the United States.
What do you make of Israel's argument that they are in a lose-lose situation because they've said, well, this is the precision strike that you've been asking us to do. There's no civilian casualties. We didn't, hit buildings in Gaza. So we do this, we get criticized. We go into Gaza, we get criticized. What are we supposed to do?
I mean, I just look. They have killed more than 60,000 people in Gaza. The idea that there will be a military victory won beyond the point that they're already at seems completely risible to me. I mean, they killed Yahya Sinwar, the main mastermind of the October 7th attacks. They have decimated the Hamas leadership while inflicting, in my view, completely unjustified suffering on a civilian population. So I just don't take it seriously, this idea of, well, this was a precision strike and, oh, we get damned if we do, damned if we don't. They're just going around. I mean, they have attacked Qatar, Syria, Lebanon, Iran. I think there's somewhere I'm actually forgetting in addition to their actions in Gaza. So I think there's a real question as to now whether the Israelis, are in fact a source of massive instability in the region itself.
All right, we're going to leave it there. A new release of Epstein documents leading to the termination of a UK diplomat, while also detailing relationships with a couple of high-profile people. We'll talk about it after the break.